All right, we begin here. Ekurhuleni Metro Police say the situation in Tembisa has been overwhelming for law enforcement officers. The township is on a shutdown after the failure of the mayor, Tania Campbell, to attend a community meeting on Friday. At least 2 people have been shot dead, allegedly by the police. The angry residents want, among others, a flat rate of electricity billing. A truck was torched on the R21 highway. Municipal officers have also now been set alight. All right, let's get some reaction then. We're now joined via Zoom by Shenilla Mohamed, Amnesty International South Africa's Executive Director. Shenilla, a warm welcome to you and thank you very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Shenilla, I must say it's quite disturbing to hear that, Ekurhuleni Metro Police are saying the situation in Tembisa has been overwhelming for law enforcement officers. The word overwhelming, why are they overwhelmed? Surely they should have enough training to be dealing with situations that for the ordinary people, or for ordinary people would be overwhelming. Why the need to say that they are overwhelmed? Is that not concerning?
Flo, we have been concerned for a while now at the way in which the South African police force deals with public order policing and protest action. And in fact, we've been calling for a long time now for the police to ensure that all their members that are responsible for public order policing are properly trained so that they don't get overwhelmed and that they know what to do in situations like this. But unfortunately, our calls have had no luck. We've even asked for meetings with Minister Tele so that we can also discuss this further, but it's never happened. And we're consistently seeing this cycle, Flo. It's a cycle of violence. It's a cycle where people are dying when they go out to protest for their rights. It's a cycle of the police mismanagement of public protests. And I think, the fact that today, again, 2 lives potentially have been lost in this protest is unacceptable. We're constantly seeing this. And I think the problem lies in the fact that the police are not properly trained to manage public order policing.
Yeah. I just saw a tweet that you had put up as Amnesty International South Africa, calling on the police to thoroughly investigate the killing of a protester in Tembisa. In fact, now 2 protesters responsible for the you've called it unlawful killing, to be held to account. Do you believe that would happen? I mean, in situations where it's the police themselves, in this particular case, who have, we'll say, have failed to show some sort of restraint or good training, one wonders if this case will indeed, be properly and well investigated.
Look, Flo, I mean, our experience is that most times the police get away with these killings. And, again, I say that with a lot of concern, because what it means is that there is no accountability, that there is, the use of these, what they call, less lethal weapons, but they are still killing people. And that, we saw that in the case of Mr. Matumba, who died coming out of a chemist when the VIT students were protesting, that those officers were let off.
Yes.
The case was dismissed. And I think, the challenge that we're facing is that this is a constant cycle. And the reason it's a constant cycle is that there is no accountability. So at the end of the day, I think that IPID goes in there. They can't seem to find, who's accountable and responsible. And yet families are losing loved ones. Today, 2 families are without their loved ones. And I think that, that is something that we have to bring an end to. And the police minister, if nobody is being held accountable, then the buck ends with him. And if he's not accountable, the buck ends with the president. Somebody's got to pay for the loss of life that is happening consistently in South Africa.
Yeah, maybe we should start having a conversation really about when lethal force is then justifiable, because obviously the police would say, or the justification that they could use, or the defense that they can use rather, is that my life was under threat, and in that situation they are indeed permitted to use lethal force. But you use a good example, that gentleman during the student protest who was coming out of his GP's office, and there he got shot. And in this situation, we're hearing, of course, unconfirmed, that one of the people who were killed was just, a passerby pouring water, and, his life ended like that. So maybe we should have those kinds of conversations about when lethal force is then justifiable, and when it can't be used by police to say, oh, well, I felt that my life was under threat.
Well, I think, there are there's an international sort of guidelines on the use of non-lethal weapons. And, it's got to be proportionate. It's got to be, there's got to be a reason for them to be using these. And when we're talking about less lethal, and I think that's a term that really should be changed, because, when people hear the word less lethal, they think, well, this is not dangerous. This is just going to disperse the crowds. Yes, some of them do, like water cannons, like, tear gas. But things like rubber bullets actually go into the body, and they cause a huge amount of damage and even death. Mr. Mutumba died from a rubber bullet. We mustn't forget that. And I think, the lack of proportionality, the police fire these things randomly in the hope that they're going to disperse crowds, but actually they are ending up killing people. Now, what we don't know today is whether live ammunition was used. The police are saying that they responded to, firing coming from the crowds. I mean, all of that has to be looked into. Are there guns out there? We're seeing a huge amount of guns showing up in South Africa now. People are being, robbed and killed randomly. So, I mean, that's one thing that we are calling on the police to take action on. This gun warfare that is going on in the country. And secondly, again, IPID has got to look at what caused the death of these protesters. Was it live ammunition? Was it a rubber bullet? And then, take appropriate action. And I think, that is what we're looking for, is that, that there's justice for the loss of life, but that people's right to protest is also protected within the law. But the one thing I must say, Flo, that we are also calling on is for protesters to protest peacefully.
Yeah.
I think that, this thing about, violence and burning property, etc. That is not peaceful protest. Their rights are enshrined in the Constitution as peaceful protest, not violent protest. And I think, people get very confused by that. They think that they can go out and burn cars and act in a violent way, and that their rights should be safeguarded. No, your right is to peaceful protest, not to violent protest. And I think that's what protesters as well need to take into consideration when they are going out to fight for their rights.
All right, Shenilla, a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for weighing in on what's happening in Tembisa then today. Shenilla Mohamed, representing Amnesty International. She's